I'll snap in the frame when he gets done.
Lost and lonely remain. garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses, and He walks with me, and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of His voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that He gave to me within my heart is ringing, and He walks with me, and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I stay in the garden with Him, though the night around me be falling, but He bids me go through the voice of woe, His voice to me is calling, and He walks with me, and He talks with me, and He tells me I am His own, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known, and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
I believe the Bible teaches us that eastward of Eden that God made a garden one time. When He made that garden, He put man therein and told him to dress it and to keep it, and said every day in the cool of the day that the Lord would come down and He'd walk with that man Adam in the cool of the day in that garden. And you go back and you study and you look, When Adam and Eve did wrong, and honey, don't put them down, you have too.
Amen.
But when they did wrong and they sinned, yes, God kicked them out. And God put an angel with a flaming sword to protect the way. Never did say that you couldn't go back in, but it's a protected way. And I'm glad that we as Christians today, and I don't want to get started here, I just love that song, Doug. I'm glad that we as Christians today, we live in a protected way. A way that just anybody can't come into. Did you know that? I feel sorry for people. Now I'm just going to tell you, I pity people that never hear the voice of God. Those that go through life Ivan and they don't know God, and they don't know the Lord, and He don't come down and get them by the hand. I don't know about you, but my God talks to me.
Amen.
He walks with me every day, and He talks with me. And boy, when I don't hear Him for a day or two, I'm starting looking somewhere and say, Lord, is it me? I'm glad I've got one that'll come down. And that joy that brings, there's a joy and there's a peace that's beyond understanding. The world will never know that. Boy, I'm glad I've got it this morning. I don't want to get started on that. It's good to see everybody here today. We appreciate you being here. We love you. It's got so many that's out. And I know where 99% of them are anyway. And they've got good reasons for being out. Sickness, travel, different reasons. But if you're watching today and on Facebook, well, you ain't here, we miss you. I want you to know that. There's nothing like being in the house of God. And when you that are sitting here today, when you're out, we miss you too. We love everyone. But just pray for those that can't be here. We've got some sick, some traveling, some out for multiple reasons. And I've never seen such a time as this for sickness. I've never seen a year. We have averaged for the last, I'll say this, we've averaged for the last about 6 weeks having 30 to 35 out every week because they were sick. And we miss you when you're not here. We really do. Some's back with us, and some new ones are out that are sick now, so pray for them. Turn with me, if you would, in the Bible to 106th chapter of Book of Psalms. And look with me down about the 7th verse, if you would. And we're going to read about 10 or 12 verses. If you can't stand, that's fine. But if you're able to stand, we'd ask you when you find it, stand with us out of respect to the Word of God while we read just a little out of God's holy, precious book. Starting in the 7th verse, the Word of God says this. It says, our fathers understood not thy wonders in Egypt. They just didn't know what God done for them, did they? They remembered not the multitude of thy mercies, but provoked him at the sea, even at the Red Sea. Nevertheless, he saved them for his name's sake, that he might make his mighty power to be known. He rebuked the Red Sea also, and it was dried up. So he led them through the depths as through the wilderness. And he saved them from the hand of him that hated them, and redeemed them from the hand of the enemy. And the waters covered their enemies. There was not one of them left. They but then believed they his words. They sang his praise. They soon forgat his works. They waited not for his counsel, but lusted exceedingly in the wilderness, and tempted God in the desert. And he gave them their request, but he sent leanness into their soul. They envied Moses also in the camp, and Aaron the saint of the Lord. The earth opened up and swallowed Dathan, and covered the company of Abiram. And a fire was kindled in their company. The flame burned up the wicked. They made a calf in Horeb, and worshipped the molten image. Thus they changed their glory into the similitude of an ox that eateth grass. That's all I'm going to read. You can be seated if you like. We realize here, and if you read on down through here, I don't know who wrote the 106th Psalm. It was written later than what David was alive, so I think we can say that it was not David, because it talks about some of the captivities on down in the chapter here that the children of Israel went into. But we realize that the author of this chapter, he's given us just a little bit of history. And you know, it's not in the Bible, but it's been stated, and there's an old proverb, and how true it is, that they that forget history, they're doomed to repeat it. And I think today that the world, when it comes to the ways of God and to the ways of mercy and to the ways of Jesus Christ, I think we forget history every now and then. You'll find that he started out there and he said our fathers didn't understand, and whether we realized or not, we're spiritually Jews, folks. It's not right, everyone that's a Jew, which is one, and you say he's talking about the Jews down in Egypt. It's not everyone that's a Jew that is one outwardly, but the one that is one inwardly, the one that receives the Spirit. And he said our fathers understood not his mighty works down in Egypt. And I wonder sometimes if we understand even what that he done down there in Egypt. And he told them, I could back all the way up, and I don't have time to get into all of it, but he even went back and he told Abraham, he said, your seed is going to become like the sand above the sea, like the stars that are in the sky. But he said, nevertheless, he said, Abraham, your seed will have to go down into a land, a foreign land, and be evilly entreated for 400 years. But he said, don't you worry about it. He said, I'm going to bring them out. And let me tell you, I know that we're going through a bad time here in this old world. I'll tell you again, don't you worry about it. He'll bring us out one day after a while. Boy, when he does, he brought them out of Egypt with a high hand, and he'll bring us out of this old world with a high hand one day after a while too. Let me tell you today, he's doing miracles today just like he did back down there in Egypt. We're not realizing what God's doing. We're not seeing his great hand. We're not seeing his great love. But that's okay. That don't change him from being God. It don't change him from loving his people. It's not going to change one iota that he'll deliver us to.
Amen.
They forget his works. You think what he done. He took them down by the Red Sea. Took them down there and he parted the Red Sea, and they went across on dry land. Boy, they was happy then. God give us a good service, we're all happy. Next week come in deadhead. The Bible didn't say they just walked across the sea. They went across with a shout. God makes a way. We need to let the world know. Their enemies trying to do the same thing. They said if they can walk through on dry ground, we can too. I'm here today to tell you that there's a way that's called holiness. And the Bible said no unclean beast shall walk thereon. It's a way that's so simple, Larry, that the Bible said a fool, though he were a wayfaring man, shall not err therein. There's a way today that the world don't know nothing about. Them Egyptians said, we can walk the same path. We can do the same thing. Boy, they got started, and that's just about the way it is today with a lot. They get started, and God takes over. I can't you see, the Bible said that got to the other side, and God told Moses, he said, that same old staff that you held out and I parted the sea, he said, now you hold it out over it again. And they looked, and there come Pharaoh and all of his army to take them back into captivity. And God said, don't worry, son, I've got thee. And boy, did he ever have it. I'm telling you today, I didn't think that thing anyway. Let me tell you today.
Amen. Bless him, Lord.
Goodness. Y'all can't hear me, move closer. Get you a match. He took that old staff and stuck out over the sea. There's all their problems coming towards them. And their problems just started disappearing.
Amen.
Where we need to be with God, we'll see our problems. And just start disappearing.
Amen.
Say, I've tried, I can't handle them. You can't handle your problems. But I've got a God that can take care of every problem that you've ever had. The Bible said that they see them floating on the seashore. They washed up. You look, just about every battle that you'll ever read about, even through the Bible, the biblical proportions. There's some that would escape. There'd be somebody that'd get away to go tell somebody else about it. This is the one battle.
That's right.
The Bible said they wouldn't won.
Yeah.
Not a one. Got away. Let me tell you, when God brings His wrath on this world, they won't be one that's going to get away either.
That's right.
Get ready for that.
Amen.
They'll never get away. But you look what they done. Said then they praised God. Then they worshiped Him. And Lord, ain't that's the way the world is today. Everybody wants to worship God. Everybody wants to have some kind of religion. Everybody wants to get by some way or t'other. You look at the way the worlds are going today, and it says that then they worship God. And it goes on, and they sung unto Him psalms, and they done all of that, but they waited not for His counsel. Did you realize that this gets deep now, folks? I hope I can get all that. Just because you go to church don't mean you're saved. Just because you preach. There's people preaching today that you know what? They ain't never felt the Spirit of God. He don't walk with them. He don't talk with them. He don't come down in the cool of the day. The Bible said, hell, they went out from us or not of us. The devil, he's got his people out there. Did you know that? It's his job to deceive if he can. They waited not for his counsel.
Bless him, Lord.
I want you to notice what they done. Finally get down where we'll preach from. In that 15th verse, he said he gave them their request, but sent leanness into their soul. There wasn't one of them. And I could talk about the ones that withstood Moses and stood against him and all of that, but I'm not going to. There wasn't one of them. But when they got hungry, they'd go out and they'd gather that manna up.
Amen.
They'd just eat all they wanted. God let them go ahead and eat. When they started complaining and they didn't want just the bread that ain't the food that angels eat. That's what the Bible says manna was. They wanted something else. They said we'd like to have meat to go with this bread. Then he said to quails every day.
Amen.
Boy, anymore, quail's expensive. I don't even know if you can buy it in a restaurant or not. If you can, I can't afford to eat there. But he was feeding them the best food you could possibly eat. And there they were. You say, tell me, it's like hogs under an acorn tree. Never looking up. Welcome to the world that we live in, folks.
Amen. That's right.
Welcome to the world that we now live in.
That's right. Amen.
He said, gave them their heart's desire. Have you ever seen a time? Have you ever heard of another time that everything you want's right there for you? It's our everything is easy anymore. Don't want to work, government feeds you.
Yeah.
Tell them true.
Amen.
I can get off one more, but I won't.
That's all right. Go ahead. Preach it, brother.
But everything is so easy anymore.
That's right.
We're eating well. I'm not talking about Bays Mountain Church. I'm talking about the church world as a whole. I'm glad we've got a good church.
Amen.
But we're eating well, we're dressed well, we've got good cars to drive, we've got good houses to be in. We stay warm in the winter, we stay cool in the summer. And this world is the most unthankful world that I've ever heard of. Unthankful, unholy, truth breakers, without natural affection. That's Bible in case you didn't know it. And that's where we are today.
Amen.
But we got a duty, folks, as Christians. While that those that, let me put it this way, while those that walked with Moses, everybody that came out of Egypt didn't come out because they wanted to follow Moses to the promised land. They just didn't want to be in slavery anymore. It was their opportunity to get out. God's given this world an opportunity to get out today. You know what I'm saying? He's given them an opportunity. And everyone you talk to won't be sincere. There's a young man that somebody asked me to go talk to, and I said, I'll go talk to him. And I sent him a message and said, I want to come and talk to you. And he said, yeah, I want you to. One minute he's praising the Lord, the next minute he's cursing. And I just can't get the feeling to go talk to that man. You got to be sincere. You got to be sincere. When somebody gets under conviction, they walk different. They talk different. They got to be ready. But aside from that, all that came out of Egypt wasn't sincere. Some of them came out because of the gold they came out with. Did you know they came out of rich people? And once they got over in the desert, they stayed there because they couldn't feed themselves. They ate the same quail, they ate the same manna, and when the water came out of the rock, I can imagine that they got right down by that stream and they drank from that same water.
Amen.
That all that were sincere did.
Right.
But God let it go right on.
Amen.
Sooner or later it all came out who was sincere and who wasn't. But even the children of Israel themselves as a whole, God kept blessing them. And He kept blessing them. And do you realize that that's what He's done to America today? He's blessed it and He's blessed it and He's blessed it, and He's almost blessed us to spiritual death. Say it ain't popular preacher, it's the truth, folks. It's the truth. He gave them their heart's desire, but He sent leanness into their soul. We worry too much about the natural side of life, and we forget about the spiritual side.
Amen.
When did you say, preacher, I love the Lord? When's the last time you got on your knees, just you and Him, and had a little talk with Jesus? Preacher, I love you, but I can't find time to study my Bible anymore. There's something wrong. I used to talk to the Lord every day. I ain't heard from Him in a while. Have you checked in lately?
Amen.
My one calls home every now and then.
Bless Him.
Say, preacher, boy, it gets deeper here now. Preacher, I used to go to church and I'd sit there and glory bumps would just run up and down my backbone and I couldn't sit still. Now they don't fit. That's leanness. That's leanness, folks. Did you realize what I'm telling you today? Preacher, I used to go to church and God quit blessing. I just go every now and then. That's up to you. But then you wonder. Then we wonder why when we show up that it seems like the old preacher's been walking around with us all week. You know. It ain't the preacher that's been walking with you.
Amen. That's right.
You understand that. Lord, leanness in our souls. God wanted to give the children of Israel those quail, and He wanted to give them the water out of the rock, and He wanted to give them the food that angel ate. But you know what God wanted more than that? He wanted praise from them people.
Amen.
You say, I'll praise God when He blesses me. If you can't praise Him in the bad times, don't look to me praise Him in the good times.
Amen.
We need to give Him praise today and honor and glory. Why? Because I love Him? No, we need to praise Him because He's worthy.
Amen.
He's worthy of all the praise that we could ever give Him. He's worthy of a hand wave every now and then. He's worthy of an amen every now and then. He's worthy of a shout every now and then. He's worthy of a song every now and then. He's worthy of all that we could ever do. He's worthy of it all. Because He's God. And besides Him, there is none other.
Amen.
I want you to look what they do. It talks about different things, and this whole chapter talks about different things that the children of Israel did till they were finally carried away captive. Moses got out of their sight. You know what they were doing? They were following a man
That's right.
and not God.
Amen.
Don't follow your preacher. He's just human as you are.
That's right.
Moses got out of their sight, and they said, "For as this Moses, we know not what has happened to him." You know what? He was with God.
Amen. That's right.
He was looking out for their spiritual well-being. He was looking out not so much for their daily needs in the flesh, but he was looking out for their soul.
Amen.
And just as quick as he got gone, they said, "Don't know where he went." They said, "We're going to make us a god."
Yeah. That's right.
And just that they did. They took all their golden earrings and all their gold, and they gave it to Aaron, and he took and he fashioned of that gold a golden calf. And you notice what the book of Psalms says about this. They changed their glory into the similitude of an ox that eateth grass. God wasn't good enough for them. Do you know that there's people in this world today who thinks God ain't good enough for them?
That's right.
If you took salvation, Wayne, and you said it's going to cost you $100,000, people will be working overtime, they'd be borrowing money, they'd be selling their houses, they'd be selling their land, they'd do everything they could to get into heaven.
Yeah.
But God made it so simple that it's just not good enough for them.
Amen.
It's just the truth. They took that calf, and God had already told them. He said, well, he was getting ready to tell them that's where Moses was. He said, "Don't you have any other gods before me."
Amen.
God is a jealous God.
Amen.
And I wonder what we presented before him.
Amen.
They took the glory of God, the glory of the only one true and living God. And they said, "We can't see him. We want something we can see with our eyes, that we can touch with our hands. We're going to make us a God." And that's exactly what they done. They took and they changed the image of the glorious God into the image of an ox that eateth grass. Did they worship it? They got to for a little while. Till God showed up. What happened to the calf? Do you know what happened to the golden calf? Moses took it, he ground it into powder and put it in their water and made them drink it. Boy, sometimes it's a bitter cup we have to drink. But let me tell you something, it's not God's fault. It's ours. If I'm walking in dry places, if I'm not feeling the Spirit of God like I once did, if I can't get any peace, seems like everything's going wrong, it's not God's fault, folks. I hate to tell you that, but it's the truth. When you get leanness in your soul, they ain't nobody right. Wife can't cook, the dog can't get out of the way, nothing's right. Something's always wrong. But old David come to the place one time. I wish I had another hour to preach on this. David come to the place one time, and he looked in and walked by a mirror, I guess, and he stopped and he looked. And he said, "Lord, it's not my brother." He said, "It's not my sister." Lord, he said, "It's me." Standing in the need of prayer. Nathan the prophet came by to see him one day, and I'm coming to a close. Come on, Miss Helen. Nathan the prophet came by to see him one day, and he said, "King, I want you to tell me something here. I want you to pass judgment on somebody for me." And the king was the high court in that day. He said there was a man that had 100 sheep, and his neighbor had one. And he said the man with 100 sheep, he had a visitor. In short story, make a long story short, he said the man with 100 sheep went and took the one sheep that the poor man had. And he killed it and he fed it to his visitor. What should we do? He said that man needs to pay with his life. Show him to me. I'll pass judgment on him. And the old man of God looked at him, and I can see him stick his finger under David's nose. And he said, David, he said, you're the man. Wonder who this message went out to today. God don't send messages for no reason. Let's all stand. Well, if you're not happy,